but I've been doing it forever. All right, here we go.
It's easy to understand and to get nervous, like, hey,
I'm
there
not
you are.
nervous. Here
Let's
we are.
go.
We are
Let's
live.
go.
Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday morning, as you know. When you see my Twitch go live, that means that I am going live with the podcast. We are back for another Saturday of Cafe BTW, a gaming morning podcast going on upwards of almost 100 episodes, folks. We are nearing 100 episodes. We're around the late 80s in full episodes of this podcast. And I am super excited again to have another awesome guest, an old friend from the Twitch Retroverse that I met a couple of years ago. We have Sonic Last Riot. What's up, Sonic? Thank you so much for coming on. It's good to have you, man.
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me for starters. I was like, let's go. It's like, big ups to this man right here. I've been watching you since like I've been a little Sonic. It seems like, dude, one of the coolest retro podcasts around. Like we always say, he brings Saturday mornings alive and he makes sure Saturday mornings last forever. And he
Oh,
relives
man.
everything that is absolutely extraordinary and awesome that was in our childhoods. The one and only Mr. Love Retro
Thank
BTW.
you, man. I mean, I know you know the podcast really well, and you are. I love you for your energy, and also, which we'll get into. You're very much a part of the retro Twitch community,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm excited to get into. But let's talk a little bit about you, like we always do at the top of Cafe BTW when we have a guest. Let's time travel with you, my friend, and learn a little bit about you. Where did it all? So obviously, and we'll get into your content, but you're very Sonic centric, Sega centric. But what is it that connected you to your childhood back in the day? Like what about video games was it that sparked you back in the day? I want to hear this story. Thanks, Genzo, for the sub. Oh my God, thank you. 28
Woo!
months. Holy crap. Hot damn. All right, go ahead, Sonic. Give us a little background on you as a gamer.
So me as a gamer, I feel like I grew up in a house with two older brothers and parents, and it was that very traditional like brothers who love video games. They had the Atari, before I was, obviously before I was born, they had an NES, of course. But when I was 6 years old, because I had an NES, but I always felt like it was more so my family's NES. I would just play it and whatnot. I had to ask my brothers, hey, can I use the NES? Can I like play Mike Tyson's Punch Out or something like that? So, but when I was 6 years old, I was like, all right, I love video games. It was something I already identified with. When I was 6 years old, it came around the holidays, and I got word of this Sega Genesis, this mythical Sega Genesis system, and I'm like, all right, this seems cool. I seem to like it drew to me. I kind of got drawn to it. So I asked for like a Hanukkah present for the holidays. So my parents were like, okay, sure, you've been good at school, so we'll get you this Sega Genesis system. And this Sega Genesis system came packed in with this game called Sonic the Hedgehog. And I'm just like, Sonic the Hedgehog? All right, seems cool. Get cute little cartoon character, like little character. Cool. I'll give it a whirl. I put it in my machine, and I'll never forget it because like it was one of those Genesis that had like the not for resale label on the box.
Oh
So
yeah.
I was like, okay. Wasn't gonna sell it anyway, but nonetheless, put it in there. And within 5 minutes, I was just like, what is this? What is this world? What are these speed? What is this speed? What are these colors? I've never seen anything like I've never felt anything like it. I was like, if this is an adrenaline rush, then my first adrenaline rush was at 6 years old. And from that point on, I instantly became hooked, not only with Sonic, but just like gaming in general. And I announced myself as like this Sega kid. I feel like as kids, we all like we said, like, were you a Nintendo fan? Were you a Sega fan? Like it seemed like there was never like, which one was it? It wasn't like you're both, it was like one or the other. And I was just like, I instantly became hooked. And at that moment, I was like, all right, I'm a gamer and Sonic is my character, and that is it.
So that's like literally Sonic and Genesis is where it kind of started for you. Is that
Absolutely.
right? All right.
Absolutely. It was my first system. It was my first system that I called my own, and I just like identified with it and just like made it my own. I remember like I would leave for school vowing that when I get home to school, I will defeat you, Dr. Robotnik, once and for all. I will defeat you once. I mean, it's like my personal quest to defeat Dr. Robotnik and finish the first Sonic the Hedgehog game.
So what is is that where your name came from, Sonic Lost Riot? What's
Yeah.
the origin of your name, Sonic Lost Riot?
So the Sonic part is Sonic, of course, Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm also a big time wrestling fan.
Ah,
So WWE superstar Becky Lynch used to be called the Irish Lass Kicker. So I would take the name, it's like the name Lass, and I'm like,
oh,
cool, Sonic Lass. And then there was a group in WWE called the Riot Squad, and they spelled their name Riott, hence why there's an extra T in my name. And 1025, probably the most important thing is my anniversary with my girlfriend. So I always say that is the most important part of my name, probably is the anniversary part. That's why 1025 is in my name. So my anniversary is October 25th.
oh, that is very cute. Awesome. I love that. I was also a huge wrestling fan. I'm not much of a modern day wrestling viewer and stuff, but I'm definitely like have a part of wrestling is a part of my life. Also, I go as far back as watching ECW live at the East at Asbury Park and like watching like going to actual ECW house shows. I was like a big also, fun fact: I used to work at a wrestling booth in a mall for a
Oh,
hot
no
minute.
way.
Yeah, and a funny story is we had a signing with the Iron Sheik and Buff
Oh,
Bagwell.
oh my God. You couldn't get any
So
more opposite
I know.
personalities every tried.
So I remember picking up the phone and I hear this like very deep accent. He says, "Hello, this is the Sheik. I am lost in the mall. Where is the booth?" And like he was on actually, believe it or not, he was on a payphone in the mall. This is the '90s. Um, and I had to go find the Iron Sheik in the mall. And yeah, I met the original Iron Sheik, which honestly is a legend in wrestling history.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe doesn't get enough credit for being as big of a legend. And Buff Bagwell, I met. You remember Buff Bagwell?
I remember Buff Bagwell indeed.
This is right when Buff Bagwell failed in the WWE. He had like one match with Booker T, and like everything went downhill from there for him. I don't know if you remember that, but that's my.
I remember like it was yesterday. It was in Tacoma,
Oh
Washington,
wow.
and they had said that if they had waited a week and had the match in Atlanta, Georgia, maybe the reception would have been better because that was WCW territory. But you picked it in like a non WCW like hometown area of Tacoma, Washington. So no wonder why it failed.
Yeah, and it's I still remember that. It's crazy that like I haven't thought of that since our podcast here. But okay, back to your now. Let's talk about you as a streamer. Tell me a little bit about how you got into streaming on Twitch. What do you like to stream? And I believe I might have just popped into your stream one night because I was telling you off here. I usually like go on the category retro on Twitch, and I kind of just pop into chat. So I think that might be how
Mm-hmm.
we met. But tell me a little bit about your content. I have your Twitch up right now. But let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I originally was a I just started streaming like my favorite games. I actually this is my second go around with Twitch. I just started streaming some of my favorite games. I originally streamed on my PS4. Like that's how far back I was originally a PS4 streamer, and I streamed for like a year. But I had already said like I felt like I just wasn't ready for it. I felt like it was something that like I wasn't just, as streamers, there's a lot of like, mentalness to like the whole streaming. It's not just like going live, there's a whole setup, there's a whole presentation, there's a whole shtick that you kind of like want to have, you're a performer in essence. So I just felt like I just wasn't ready for like, everything that entailed. So I took a break, took about a year off. And then, like, thanks to the beautiful girlfriend that I'm with now, the love of my life, the girl I'm planning on marrying one day, she realized
Wow,
one
you
day that
know exactly what you want.
oh
You're
yeah,
all
oh
set.
yeah, for sure. That she realized I miss streaming. Like she's like, you miss it, you miss being in front of the camera, and I'm like, no, 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 and she's like, listen, women's intuition. She's like, no, you miss it. So I decided to go back, and I went back. I thought of the name, the history with the name. So I went back to streaming, and just like I haven't looked back. I am now like on 2 years fully on Twitch,
Nice.
and I you're kind of seeing here. Streets of Rage Shoot was a game that I used to for fun would just like pretend to do mock speed runs on. And then one day I decided to just like speed run it with my partner, Dinny Avery. and who's another retro streamer in the brawler community. And now it's become one of our our highlights. We speedrun Streets of Rage 2. Myself and Din are actually on very easy difficulty. We're actually the world record holders for co-op.
Oh, no
On
way.
easy, we're second, and on normal, we're third in the world. And as you're seeing right there with Blaze, I'm actually ninth in the world with Blaze. I'm actually very, very just even
You are
being
the
in top
ninth
10
in the world at Streets of Rage 2 with Blaze?
in on easy difficulty.
On easy
'Cause
difficulty. Okay.
yeah, because but even though it's on easy, there's a lot that can happen. That game is RNG heavy. That game
Wow.
is basically the definition of unpredictability, which but I think that's why I love it, because you never get the same gameplay experience twice. And
Sure.
then thanks to another streamer by the name of Pine Sol, um, I got inspired to do trivia because, I love being interactive with the community. I love just being interactive with, giving back and having just interactive experiences. So on Tuesday nights, we do trivia now. And then we do other retro favorites throughout the week. Obviously, a lot of Sonic games, obviously, a lot of Sega games. I have played Nintendo games before and other PS2 stuff like that. But obviously Sega is our main focus just because it's what I grew up on. And I just kind of reliving my childhood and just sharing those experiences with our communities.
Yeah, and let's talk about, we don't talk enough about the Twitch retro community. Before we get into, and just so everyone knows, we are going to get into the origin of Sonic. We're going to walk through a little bit about the fun history on how Sonic was actually created. We're not going deep into all the games that Sonic's ever been in, but today we're going to focus in on Sonic and how he started. But what's your vibe with the retro community on Twitch? I think it's very highly underrated. I think this category is full of amazing streamers, amazing people. And look, a good friend of mine and a good friend of the show, Game Tracks, is streaming right now, and I just found him through the category right now. If it ever loads? Do you know Game Tracks? What a great guy!
I
Man.
love Game Tracks.
Such a good
Such
guy.
a great guy. I met him actually through another retro streamer named Cute Raspberry when I first restarted on Twitch. Such an amazing guy, just an uplifting personality, and ever since I in the retro community, you're absolutely right. Just amazing personalities who are they're playing the games they love. They're playing the games that they're most passionate about. It might not have the biggest fan bases, but you know what, we love it. That's what we grew up on. And it's probably some of the most welcoming people I've ever met in my life, who just are absolutely just amazing personalities that if the world could see their streams and the personality and the passion they put into it, it'd just be it's something the world just definitely needs to see for sure.
Yeah, and right now I have the retro category because in Twitch you can categorize things. There is a retro category, and if you scroll down it like I am right now, you see all these amazing retro streamers playing I see a guy playing Tetris on a computer. I see a bunch of great games here. You even have random ones where people are just playing commercials on their Twitch channels of old video games. There is nothing more underrated on Twitch than the retro community, I think. And I know it's gotten bigger, it's gotten better, but personally, I love just kind of perusing the category and jumping into a stream that has one viewer and giving them some love and an appreciation. And I think we talk a lot on my show about TikTok retro community. We talk a lot about the Twitter community here on my show, but we don't give enough praise and appreciation to the Twitch community, the retro Twitch community. And, I've been on the fence, Sonic, about going full-time on YouTube Live. And I just realized a few days ago, honestly, I'm like, no, I really need to stay doing my live on Twitch because it just means so much to me. And it lets me connect with the community here. So I'm not going to do that. So just so everyone knows, okay, not happening. But yeah, do you think it's a little underrated compared to a lot of the rest of Twitch?
I do, and I think it's it's not even by design. It's just that you're playing games that only a handful of people might remember or have played before. And obviously there are so many amazing games out there now that are very, very popular in this generation. So I think it's just not even by accident, almost that. It's become underrated because they're playing games that a very select few people of a Twitch or even the world knows about. So it's not even by design, it's just by like, just by accident. It's like, but that's what I think I love about it, again, because the fact that it's like they're like, well, and they're just like, you know what, we may not play what's the most popular game out there right now, but we're going to play what we love. At the end of the day,
Yep.
passion and just having fun out there and just putting your all is what matters here. And so I think for the retro gaming community, they are, willing to just like not be like everyone else and just kind of, write their own path. It's very, very similar to kind of like Sonic and Sega, and how like they kind of just didn't follow the norm when creating Sonic, or creating the design for Genesis for the 90s, willing to go toe to toe against the giant that was Nintendo.
Yeah, and I got some Jan in chat, and shout out to Jan, who's been a huge supporter of the podcast for so long. YouTube is for Minecraft videos. They're very true. And then a first-time chatter, Bree. What's up, Bree? Welcome to the cafe, by the way. She said, or he said, sorry, I don't know your gender. I think the modern audience doesn't care to look to the past, which hurts the category. Absolutely. I think Twitch, that's a lot. People come to Twitch not for retro, and not enough. Bree, as in Brian, great. Hey, I'm fair, and I always make sure to say both if I don't know which gender we're talking here.
Would that be a Bride Be Cool 10 by any chance?
What's that? Oh yes, it is. Is that a fan from your community? I love it.
That is actually a real life best friend of mine. We stream together also. So
shout out to Brian. Thank you. And then Bricks O'Brien says to Jan, I take offense as a Minecraft creator. And then Bree said, or Bry says, oh shit, I've been found out. Well, welcome, Bry. Appreciate you coming to the cafe and joining us. So let's get into the topic, man. Sonic, I love your history. I love that you are a Twitch like a homie, and you are a true Twitch retro gamer. And thanks for all your support to the Twitch community here on the retro community, which I think doesn't get enough love, and we need to push out more love to the retro community here on Twitch, which I am a part of. But let's get into Sonic and a little bit about the history. Now, we're going to go back to around 1989, I think, is when the Genesis came out. And obviously Sonic was, and a lot of misconception is everyone thinks when Genesis came out, Sonic was immediately available. That is not true. Sonic was not around when the Genesis came out initially. And when I, as a kid who skews a little older, I actually had the first release of the Genesis in America, which was a pack-in with Alter Beast, which is not a bad game. Like, Alter Beast is a great arcade game. I have fond memories, Sonic, of getting the Genesis for the first time and playing Alter Beast like religiously. But here's the thing. As a pack-in game, Alter Beast doesn't kind of hit home as a pack-in game, right? It technically doesn't have like a character that you could fall in love with. I mean, you're a shape-shifting werewolf that fights in a side-scrolling capacity, which, don't get me wrong, is a great game and has really cool art, honestly. But it didn't have the appeal that a Mario did, right? It didn't have that appeal.
No, I think like Alter Beast was great in the idea of Sega showing like, all right, we're not going to just have the kid friendly style games. Like, we're going to be more edgier. Now, obviously by today's standards, this is like very tame compared to today's standards. But for 1989, 1990, seeing like mythological creatures, shape shifting was more like, all right, this is something we're not familiar with. This is like definitely a different kind of style, and definitely appealed to more of the older audiences, which what Sega, did. Their whole thing was like, we're going to go after teens and young adults. Like, we're not just going to keep, super towards families. We're going to go for more adults, teens. But I think you're absolutely right, because the whole goal was, for companies, because a lot of companies obviously had come back to the video game industry, because the industry had died from like 83 to 85 because of the video game crash. Nintendo obviously, of course, sparked it, brought it back to life. Not only was the goal to try to obviously, beat Nintendo, but they realized like, yeah, you need a character, you need a cool mascot. And obviously, as great as this game was, and as very edgy for the time that the game was, and very, very different and unique, and a very good game, pretty game. Like you said, it didn't have the appeal of like I wouldn't think of like an Altered Beast as like a mascot that could lead my company moving forward.
Definitely not. I don't think we ever would have gone anywhere with Alter Beast trying to be that. But it was a cool game. But yeah, very religious based tones in this game. Very dark. Picking up what Bryce said in chat, this is the devil's video game. It does have a lot of those undertones in it. It's not like a family friendly storyline. It's pretty dark in all honesty. But a cool game, and this is what the box-in looked like, and I had it like this, and still as a little kid I have fond memories playing Alter Beast. But that, and I wanna give you a stat that's really interesting. By this time, every 1 out of 4 households had a Nintendo if they had a video game system. So that goes to show you how hardcore of the market share Nintendo had at the time, right?
It's like 90% of 90% of homes, like Nintendo had a 90% market share. Like
They did.
any console that even like dare try to compete against Nintendo, I think, Sega had said it best. Al Nielsen, who was a big marketing person for Sega, I think he basically said it best in one statement right there. For every dollar we had in marketing, Nintendo had $15 in market work with.
Amazing. It was really incredible how much of the market share they had for so long. So Nintendo has Mario, right? And there's a problem with Genesis and Sega is that they realize we don't have a mascot. And they tried to use Alex the Kid as a mascot, right? That didn't work either. Alex the Kid is a fine game. There's nothing quite wrong with it. It's not a game that I look back on and like really love, to be honest with you. Did I play it a ton? Yeah, sure. And I think that Alex the Kid was very much a part of the Mega Drive as well. But that's not it. They needed something from scratch. They needed something true. So honestly, we're gonna go all the way to Japan. And there was a day where they said, look, everyone, we want you to submit character designs for an idea for us to attempt to create a mascot that will take down Mario. And this is where it all began, Sonic. This is where the first rumblings of creating a mascot that will create Sonic began. So over 200 designs were actually submitted for the idea of coming up with Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, I know you're familiar. There were a lot of different weird designs, right? There was like there was a bear.
There was a rabbit. There was a bear. I think there was an egg even. Like there was an armadillo. Like they just decided, like, all right, listen, like anything and everything that it could be kind of a character, kind of cutesy little character, run with it, absolutely just like create it. And from all those drawings came this like hedgehog, and that's kind of what Sega was like, all right.
And I believe it was, and I'm going to butcher these names, Oshima.
Yep.
Oshima was one of the main original designers that came up with the first ideas of the creation of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Absolutely.
So, like you said, we saw all these submissions. And by the way, there were also other submissions where there was a Teddy Roosevelt-looking character that looked like Dr. Robotnik. And that's kind of where Dr. Robotnik came from. But there were a lot of different characters that were submitted that actually ended up in Sonic games, or the likenesses ended up in Sonic games in the future. But I'm pulling from an article here, and this is kind of like how they decided on a hedgehog, which we all know a hedgehog was the final choice for Sonic to be the kind of animal that it is. So Sonic and the Sonic development team settled on a hedgehog mascot in part because its form. A hedgehog in a video game could curl up into a ball, roll around, and do damage with its spiky coverings. But Sega tested the other ideas, including an armadillo, like you said, a dog, an old guy with a mustache, which obviously became Eggman, while searching for the mascot. Now, another fact about an armadillo is they're actually pretty fast. And I don't mean like super cheetah fast, but they could actually run up to 8 miles an hour, I believe. They are very fast little creatures. So that's also where that came into mind. So they come up with the mascot, right? And they have an idea of who this is, but the name of the mascot is Mr. Needle Mouse, and that's what the first name of Sonic is, right?
Yeah, it was this whole big. It was this opposite of everything that Sega of America made it originally. But yeah, originally Mr. Noodle Mouse, which, and fun fact, actually, when Sonic 4 was in development, the name for Sonic 4 was Project Needle Mouse as an homage to like the original name of Mr. Needle Mouse, like way back when.
Yeah, and obviously they ended up going with the name Sonic the Hedgehog. Why? It's simple: supersonic speed. Sonic, that they kind of like formed that name because of the speed. Now there was an amazing Sega developer named Yuki Naka, who is one of the most famous developers in the history of video games in the sense that he helped develop the actual framing and framework of the game we love today. I believe at the time he was working on a faster side-scrolling style platformer, and when they came up with Sonic, they had to match the creators and designers with a developer that they think would work for this project. So they immediately came to Yuki Naka as the main proponent to drive the creation of the original Sonic game. Do you know anything about Yuki Naka?
Yeah, Yuji Naka he was a programmer. He came to Sega, I think it was like in 1986. His first game was, I believe, a game called Girls Garden. And he kind of worked his way up through Sega, worked through the ranks, and he played Mario, and they liked the idea of Mario. They liked the idea of the concept of Mario as the game, as a
They loved
platformer. They loved it, but they realized that like the players could like get, if they can get to a goal from A to B faster, it would actually their hand-eye coordination would improve. So their goal was to play a game, but play it much faster, which is why like they really marketed this whole speed thing, because that was like the proponent that was like different versus, because obviously after Mario came out, obviously there were so many other platformers that had come out. Like platformers became like the genre of the 80s. And so Sega was like, all right, let's be different. Let's proponent this not only as a platformer, not as a cute character, but like as a speed with attitude. Let's go with the proponent was like, let's go with the time frame of like how the culture was, because in the 90s, early 90s, we became more attitude based, more in your face style, hence why Sonic was more of an in your face character.
And just to add more characteristics that they based Sonic on, Michael Jackson had really cool like shoes and boots, and they modeled a lot of the shoes off of that. But where did they get the color for the red shoes? It was actually from Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. So honestly, they looked at Santa Claus and they're like, well, the red and white sticks out a lot, so why don't we give Sonic a cool looking shoe like Michael Jackson, but turn it red? And honestly, that's one of the coolest little fun facts, is that it's a combination of their love of Michael Jackson and a mixture of the love of colors of Santa Claus. Did you know that?
Yes. And also the attitude of Bill Clinton. Also, this whole get it done attitude. I think
in the 90s.
In an interview, said like when Bill Clinton wanted something to get it done, he got it done. So again, that's why if you ever play an old Sonic game, you never see him smile. He never smiles. He's just like straightforward, like, let's get it done. Let's defeat Robotnik. Like, let's get it done here.
So let's go back to the timeline and the story. Now, so they've come up with the character. They found a developer who's starting to build a prototype of this game that's fast, intense, exciting. But now they have to go to Sega of America, who has just, has already been about 2 or 3 years into the release of the Genesis, or maybe 2 years into the release. And they're like, hey, Sega of America, we have a new mascot, and it's a hedgehog. And the Americans are like, what the hell is a hedgehog? Because honestly, hedgehogs are not native to the U.S. at all. Not a single hedgehog ever existed in America. So obviously Americans didn't really have an affiliation to hedgehogs. And to be honest with you, the only way I ever knew about hedgehogs is because of Sonic. So
same.
So they come to America, and the Sega of America has a problem with this. They're not sure this is going to work out. So they say to Sega of Japan, we have to give Sonic a couple of design treatments to maybe make this character a little bit more appealing to the American audience. So Sega Japan wasn't completely happy with that, but they were a little bit lenient to the idea, and they let Sega America go at it and decide to kind of redesign redesign the character, because believe it or not, Japan and America have a lot of cultural differences. We love video games, but if you notice, there's tons of Japanese version games that would never do well in America. So what Sega of Japan needed to do was figure out, how do we make this universal? And it wasn't even just America. They had to figure out a character that would work universally. That would include Europe and other parts of the world. But obviously, Sega of America was very important for the market, because they were trying to take down Nintendo, who was also had huge market share in America, right? So initially, they come up with an idea to put Sonic in a rock band, right? Immediately, you think of America, you think music, you think rock band, but that wasn't clever enough. What did you know about the rock band stuff?
So the rock band stuff was interesting. Literally, you took Sonic, you're like, let's give him fangs, let's put him in a rock band, let's have him have a human girlfriend.
This was, and just to clarify, this is Japan pitching to America how to change the character.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, let's have a human girlfriend. Let's put fangs on the character. Let's give him this.
And
I guess.
And the girlfriend, right?
And the girlfriend. Yeah, the human girlfriend named Madonna.
Madonna. So American.
And literally, you take the cliche of a rock band and Madonna, one of the biggest pop icons ever, give her the name, the blonde damsel in distress girlfriend, and it's like Sega of America looked at this and they're just like,
no,
this isn't gonna work out. This is not gonna this is gonna be too weird for American audiences. So we have to clean up this character and make some changes, and we're gonna make some changes for you. And
changes. Speaking of changes, enter Tom Kalinske, who was brought in to be the president of Sega of America, and he is a part of helping Japan form Sonic the way he should look. Tom Kalinske is a legend, and he is single-handedly known for helping, and we're going to get to how he helps here. But let's talk about Madeline Schroeder. Who is Madeline Schroeder to the world, Sonic?
Madeline Schroeder, arguably the mother of Sonic, and she said it best. She said mothers protect their children, and she had the inevitable task of having to go to Japan
Sonic,
and to try to make it more sellable. This is how we want Sonic, and had some very, very, very unfriendly meetings with top brass of Sega of Japan, saying hey, listen here, the fangs aren't going to work, the girlfriend's not going to work. We have this idea of what we want Sonic to be, and just envy her for having to go through those meetings and deal with Sega of Japan's top brass and trying to smooth things over. That's love right there for a character.
Well, before they went to Japan, though, they had a poster made. This isn't the original poster, but they had a poster of what Sonic looks like today, honestly. And they literally, like you said, got on a plane. There's the plane. I wanted to pull this up and waiting to pull this up. They got on a plane and they had a serious meeting with them. And they pulled the fangs out and they created Sonic in the image we know today. And honestly, I think that it influenced Sonic as a whole. Sonic ended up looking this way in Japan as well. And the rest is history in that side of it. But they also were in Japan because Tom Kalinske was like, listen, we need to pack in the Sonic game with the Genesis, and that meant they wanted to sell it for free, because when you do a pack-in game, Sonic, that means it's free. And the president of Japan, Sega of Japan, was pissed. So Tom Kalinske and Madeline are in the office, and he literally kicks a chair over, and he's mad and furious and walking out of the conference room. But as he hits the door, he stops, and this is apparently what happened. He stops and turns, and he says, all right, if that's what you think Tom Kalinske is going to solve the American market, then let's do it. You have my support. After being furiously mad, and I heard he was a very intimidating guy and very scary. He wasn't a easy guy to work with.
It was so bad that Tom Kalinske thought his job was history at that very moment. He thought that's it. I'm fired. I'm history here. Game over for me at Sega. It was a nice run. And yeah, they took the guts because the fact that basically Sega Japan felt that like we're in the market for software, we're in the market to make games, sell games here. We don't just give away, not only give away a game, but our biggest title. You just want to give it for free. But I think the smartest thing that Tom Clancy did was the fact that he did it for the holiday season. Toward
And
the
look,
holiday season,
the,
like yeah, there you go. He
I
kicked
even
there
found this
exactly.
reenactment online, which is hilarious. But goes to show you like how smart they were to listen to Tom Kalinske, because it's probably one of the smartest moves in video game history. So including Sonic as a pack-in game was very important to not only bring Sonic to the American culture, but just giving you Sonic for free and allowing you to experience the original Sonic the Hedgehog was quite interesting. But you know, I love this origin story. It is so like unique, and it's kind of fun to hear that, you know, they had to first go pitch this, obviously. But the rest is history, right? The rest is where the console war started. So guess what happened? Once they released Sonic as a pack-in for the Genesis, the market share shifted for the first time in years, and Sega actually took the lead in the market share. And that kicked off, as we know today, as the console wars for real. And what do you think about that kind of movement? Like, what do you think about the importance of not only that we come full circle where it starts off as an idea, let's take down Mario, and we actually do it and succeed. What do you think of that? Like, looking back on that, that's pretty freaking impressive. I
I
mean,
mean, I think it's obviously, you know, in the big picture of things about like how in life, like, you know, if you set your mind to something, you can accomplish anything because yeah, you're taking a company that was 90% the most dominant company in gaming history at the time, and you're this like little unknown company, and with like the right kind of marketing ingenuity, you take a character from scratch, and essentially you become the biggest thing in gaming history. And I think it was just a very bold move by Sega. I think it was this idea of like, you know, them realizing like if you're going to market this character, you know, we have to take the most aggressive way possible. And you know, kudos to them for like even conceptualizing not only the thought of it, but just like willing to like, you know, have meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, and finally say like, hey, like this is the direction we need to go to. And I think honestly it is one of the biggest, you know, shifts in gaming history, because if had they not done that, had they not like, you know, not only going against Sega, against Nintendo and given away Sonic, but like this is one of those like shifts in gaming history that like shifted everything, because obviously as history be told, you know, then eventually we transitioned to other consoles and other platforms. And you know, what other companies have had the wherewithal to want to start if they hadn't seen Sega take down Nintendo and realize like, hey, we can actually compete with everyone else.
yeah, it's quite incredible. Bryce says, I think making it a pack-in game shows that they have incredible confidence in their character. That is absolutely right. Also, they took a huge risk because they weren't completely, you know, sold that it would actually work. Like Tom Kalinske was confident enough to say that this is the only right way to go, but they could have failed. Sonic could have been a failure, but the game was so good, there was just no way it could fail, because the game, beyond the character, the game was developed wonderfully, and that attributes, because there could have been a world where Sonic looked cool, but the game could have been bad, right? So there was two things that had to meet in the middle, and we got to give credit not only to the design of Sonic, but also to the design and creation of the actual development of the game, because the game is outstanding, fast paced. It kind of had all these Americans were so used to Mario and running side scrolling, but now you were side scrolling in speed. It was the 90s, edgy, everything was fast. You know, like it was everything the 90s encompassed was Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, I want to bring something up too. Not only did Sonic kick off the success of Sega as a console maker, when they had to stop making consoles, here's where Sonic saved them. And I don't think a lot of people talk about this, is that when you have an IP of a mascot character that is more recognizable than Jesus Christ, then you have a very valuable IP. Mario, Mickey Mouse, and Sonic and Jesus could be on a piece of paper, and I guarantee you the kids will know who Sonic and Mario are before they know who Jesus is. And I'm totally just throwing that out because Jesus is like one of those all-encompassing characters that people know. So when they lost the console war later, after the Dreamcast failed in the U.S. as a market, not failed as a system, the Dreamcast is an outstanding, one of the best made video game systems. When they went full software, what did they start doing with Sonic? They started putting Sonic on Nintendo. They started using Sonic to make software, because if they didn't have Sonic when they went out of the console industry, they would have been lost forever. And now we fast forward to today, Sonic, and Sonic's IP is bigger than ever. The movie turned out to be one of the best video game adaptation movies. Two of them all already. Like, so the IP of Sonic, Sega can go bankrupt, but they could still own the IP of Sonic, and they could make lots of money off of just the IP alone. So what do you think of that?
The movie proved that video game movies can be adapted into. It's the point where I think the Sonic movie is past the label of video game movie. I think it's just a damn good movie in general. Like, even I've heard non-Sega fans, non-Sonic fans absolutely just rave about this movie, just because from the standpoint of an actual movie itself, it's just an incredible movie. And like,
Movies,
exactly,
plural.
movies. and I think Sonic, and you're absolutely right, because Sonic as a character has evolved now, and like.
So, would you say that a combination of the Sega of Japan and the Sega of America helped formulate the creation of Sonic the Hedgehog successfully, with a little bit of fighting each other on things? But if it wasn't for Japan, we wouldn't have had the creation of Sonic. But if it wasn't for Sega of America, we really wouldn't have had that finished polish that it needed to really knock it out of the park. So it goes these two sides of Sega, which is really interesting, because Sega of America and Sega of Japan had a little bit of separation after the Genesis, because they messed up with the Saturn. The American market didn't want to sell the Saturn as hardcore as the Japanese market did. That was a whole nother mess. Then the Dreamcast and everything kind of went downhill from there. But they at least got this Sonic thing right. And it attributes to a really cool part of video game history. Here's a good picture of the pack-in of
That's the
Sonic.
one I had. That's the exact box model I had with the
not for resale on the box.
Not for resale thing. I was like, I'd never seen anything like it where it said literally not. I think there was a couple Genesis games like that where it said not for resale. But that was the Genesis that I got, was the one that said the not for resale one. And just such amazing memories.
And I wanted to make this podcast more focused on the origin of the character. I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole of like, let's look at every single Sonic game ever made. But we can't get out of this podcast without mentioning a few of the best Sonic games ever made. Okay. Now I pulled up a list. It's no one I respect, but we're going to use it as a reference. They did a top 10 Sonic games of all times. And in chat, if you have any of your favorite Sonic games, feel free to share them. I'm sure you have your favorite Sonic game. Before you go on this list, what is your favorite Sonic game of all time?
Sonic 2.
Sonic 2.
The original Sonic 2 for me is like the game that just, I feel like Sonic 1 kind of announced Sonic and Sega's presence in the video game market, and Sonic 2 just like cement the flag saying we're here to stay.
I love that. You know what mine is? I would say Sonic 2, but I love Sonic Adventure. When I got the Dreamcast,
that is my second favorite Sonic game, actually. I love Sonic Adventure.
And you know what's really funny? So when Sonic Adventure came out, there was actually a problem with the release of the disc where you would put the Sonic Adventure in your new Dreamcast and it wouldn't load. It wouldn't hit the loading screen. And I had that problem. So I literally bought my Sonic Adventure and I had to go back 3 different times to buy a Sonic Adventure.
No way.
Yeah, I had a problem. And it turned out that the EB Games had the defective their set that they were selling was defective. So I had to go to another EB Electronic Boutique at the time, I think it was.
I remember EB Games for sure.
And finally got a Sonic Adventure that worked. It was really a pain in the butt. And back then you didn't have like Amazon. You couldn't like order things really quickly. You had to find things in the stores. But Sonic Adventure, man, it was beautiful. The music was wonderful, and I loved the Dreamcast. So there was nothing like it. Now let's go through this list. Sonic Colors. Any connection to Sonic Colors?
I love Sonic Colors. I think Sonic Colors was actually one of those 3D Sonic games that they got absolutely right. I think it felt more like that aesthetic of like, the core gameplay. I think it's very underrated as far as the Sonic game's concerned. I have a lot of great memories with Sonic Colors. I'm actually playing Sonic Colors that when they released it on PS4. I'm playing that right now, as a matter of fact, and just such a fun game.
I love it. Sonic Rush.
Didn't really play Sonic Rush as much, but from what I've heard, yeah, it was. A lot of Sonic Rush was one of those core games where it's just like they just kept it like that basic formula, and I think for a lot of like Sonic games on like the handheld market, especially the handheld market, they decide like we're just going to keep it more 2D, and I think that's where they found their audience.
Sonic Generations.
Amazing game. Sonic Generations is that one game that a lot of people say of all the 3D Sonic games, a lot of people's favorite 3D Sonic games is Generations.
Sonic the Hedgehog, the original, obviously OG. Come on.
I'm surprised it's like seven.
Yeah, why is it at
list.
7 on the
why is it
list?
seven? It's like at least like two or three or something like that. Maybe like, all right, like I mean, yeah, there are other great Sonic games, but I was like at least three or four, maybe.
Yeah, I don't trust these lists, but I use them for reference. Sonic Advance. Ooh, that was a
Love
good one.
Sonic
That is
Advance
a good one. I
that
forgot
needs
about
to
it.
come back.
Oh,
Sonic
man.
Advance just needs to come back in like so many ways. They need to bring like if they could have like a Sonic Advance collection or something like that, they just take my money now, please.
Sonic Adventure 2, excellent game. I mean,
Excellent game.
excellent game.
The debut of Shadow, like
Yep.
the origins of Shadow, who's now become arguably
Pretty good.
one of the top tier characters in the Sonic universe.
Sonic CD, for me personally, I really enjoyed it because when I got the Sega CD when it came out, and I still have fond memories of playing Sonic CD. I actually really, really liked it. Did you play it?
Wanted Sonic CD. I wanted Sonic CD as a child so badly, and then I finally got to play it. I was just like, "This is just so much fun!" And the debut of Amy Rose, when
Yeah.
the less more aggressive Amy Rose debuts, because in Sonic CD she was far less aggressive and far less like demanding of Sonic's attention.
Yeah. No, I love that. Sonic Mania, great game.
I want Sonic Mania 2 so badly.
It's so good. Are they making it?
There's no intentions of making a Sonic Mania 2.
Oh,
And
man.
I'm just like, they literally could. There are so many like levels and IPs you could take from Sonic Mania 2. There's so many levels in in the old Sonic games, and you can make a whole nother Sonic Mania game in.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2 at number 2, which obviously is a favorite of yours. Mine too.
I'm
Most
curious
people.
I'm curious what number one is, and if it's not Sonic Adventure,
I think
like,
it's got to be Sonic Adventure.
I was about to say,
Ready?
could it be Sonic Adventure? Like,
Ready? No, it's Sonic 3 Knuckles.
Wow, Sonic Adventure didn't even make the top 10 there. Like, okay.
They put the second one. That's probably why. But that's not
Sonic
right.
3 Knuckles that's a story in its own right, Sonic 3 Knuckles.
There's a whole story there. Do you know that the American release of Sonic and Knuckles, there was a marketing campaign at Alcatraz where they did a competition at Alcatraz, which is the San Francisco prison off the water there. And they did a competition at Alcatraz, and they did a huge lead up to the release of Sonic and Knuckles. And quote me if I'm wrong.
Know that.
Did not. Let me find. Hold on, I'll show you. Let me see if I can find. How do you even spell Alcatraz? I can't spell that.
Autocorrect should help you there.
Hold on. I know there's a video somewhere. I might have to just tweet it later. Let me see.
See that's dope to know, like, because I know Sega was like big on marketing, like competitions and events, and they always did their releases like larger.
Yes,
life.
I found it. It was through MTV called Rock the Rock. And
Rock the Rock. I need to watch this. My god,
this is amazing. Here, I'll throw it in chat, but let me see if I can find them at the prison. Here they are. They're at the prison. This is Alcatraz, and they did a whole competition, and MTV produced it.
Sega would go to a prison,
and they called it Rock the Rock. And here's the final match was outside of the prison. This is out Alcatraz. This is literally at the prison. And they did this whole event with MTV. So this video is so 90s MTV, by the way. You got Bill.
I'm about to say this is the MTV I miss. This is the core MTV we knew and loved to be what it is. And like I love how like they're in like this like almost like egg shaped like dome or something. It's like, what did Robotnik create that dome or something for them?
But yeah, it was a real competition, and it was such a great marketing ploy for them to market Sonic and Knuckles. Yeah, that's how they kind of like, man, the American Sega marketing team in the 90s was insane. They were so funny. They were so fun and smart, doing so many different. That's Bill Bellamy, by the way, old VJ from MTV, old school, really great one as well. So to close, sadly we're close to the end of the show. What I did, I always try to find a question to ask on Twitter, Sonic, that relates to the topic. So I asked, are you more of a Sonic or Mario fan? And we got a lot of responses here. Let me reload it, and let's read through some of these and see what people say. So we got Dr. Gaming Power says, over the years, Mario games have brought me joy. Sonic is great, but for me, Mario wins. Richard says, Mario over Sonic, but I'm being biased because I grew up playing Mario. However, Sonic is cooler of the two characters. And when it comes to games like Mario Kart and Smash Brothers, I choose anyone over Mario. That's an interesting take. We got more Marios here. Mario, the games are just more fun to play. Whoa. Personally, Mario, just for Mario Kart 64. Got to find a Sonic person in here.
I'm about to say, like,
wow, a lot of Mario. I mean, it's interesting. Sonic always has been. Link is more of my jam, but I think I have to go with Sonic here. We got some gifts for Sonic. Tough one. They didn't even answer. The Blue Blur all the way. I love that name. Sonic without a doubt. Sonic, since my first home console was the Sega Genesis Model 2 that included Sonic 2, and I grew up playing every Sonic game of the Genesis, still love and appreciate Mario, but Sonic got a head start for me back in my childhood years. So it could seem like people like you who grew up with Genesis as their first console as opposed to the NES as their first console are probably going to lean towards Sonic, but maybe a lot of the more people that skewed to NES in the 80s, they're going to lean towards Mario. We have a few more here. Sonic, Mario games, Sonic movies. Good one.
Sonic movies, yeah.
Definitely Sonic because Sonic 2 is a masterpiece. Mario all the way. Mario Sonic is kind of frustrating. Mario may have more finesse, but Sonic just has the style, personality to match. His games are also a challenge to me. Team Sonic. Awesome. And I want to thank everyone on Twitter for sending me all your comments. I can't read them all.
That's amazing, yeah.
But as you can see, you could check them out on my Twitter. We got plenty of people giving their opinions here.
I love the GIF responses like that. I just love like the GIF responses. Like, this is my response. Just straight
just
GIF
a GIF.
right there. It's like,
no, but I mean, you probably expect a big divide here. Sonic isn't going to win outright on the Mario. Mario's a huge, he's the OG in video game history. But Sonic actually beat him in the 90s. So, there's a lot of back and forth. I mean, we'll see what happens with this Mario movie with Chris Pratt and stuff like that.
I'm excited for it, honestly. I feel like Jack Black's going to steal the show on that one personally.
As Bowser, yeah.
Yeah, I really just still shows over the topness, but it's gonna be, it's gonna showcase that, like, hopefully this is the start of, like, video game movies, like, away from the stigma of just being like these god awful bad adaptations.
Yeah, and dude, can you believe it? We've nearing an hour already.
I know.
The show moves so fast.
I know, like, it moves in a supersonic speed fast, right? Like,
yes, it does, but. Dude, I really enjoyed this one. I think that we had the right amount of content here. We could have probably gone down rabbit holes looking at the games, but I think it was more important to focus in on the creation and the character and the love of the character. But a little wrap up here. What was your takeaway from today's show?
I mean, it was amazing. It was awesome. Your podcasts are always extraordinary. I love it. I love it because they're on Saturday mornings, and it's like it gives me those feeling of being a child again, and like watching my favorite cartoon. I was like, okay, so this is what a Saturday morning feels like. And if you come back to my stream, I'm gonna be like, literally, Kristen, the nickname, love Retro BTW. What a Saturday morning is supposed to feel like once again.
Oh man, that warms my heart. I've gotten that many times where people treat it as their Saturday morning cartoon. People used to say to me, Sonic, they're like, why don't you like move it to 10 a.m. and then I can make it. I'm like, dude, I am not going to move my podcast just so you, my friend, can make it in time because you can't wake up. What's great is, and I want to say hello to all the VODers in the world because we know you're watching too. Thank you so much. But it's really a testament to anyone that makes it to the live show. It's a treat. The VOD is there for you at any time, but if you can make it to the live in the morning and hang out with us, it means the world. And I don't expect people to be here every Saturday morning, but we've been doing it for a while now, Sonic. But I really just want to say that today was a really fun episode. I'm a huge Sonic fan. As you know, my love is a Sega Saturn. I can go down a rabbit hole on that. I'm a big Sega Saturn collector. I'm a big Sega fanboy. I love Nintendo, but I think I skew a little bit more on the Sega side, honestly. But tell me a little bit about what do we have for you content-wise on your Twitch channel in the future? Tell me a little bit about what we can expect from Sonic.
Yeah, so in the future we're gonna definitely we're actually gonna be doing we actually just did a so one of the new things we've been doing now is trying to do Sonic 2 Deathless. I've done it once, but like I want to try to do it again to try to play Sonic 2 Deathless. It's an insane idea, but I love the idea of insanity. To try to beat that game Deathless. We've done it once, but we want to try to do it again. Definitely gonna see some more, probably gonna see more in the line of co-streams. I do have a lot of co-streams lined up here. I've been talking to some great streamers here. Because our thing is we call ourselves the Lounge. We even got the sign to prove it.
Nice.
We call ourselves the Lounge because it's a place where we just want people to come in, relax, feel love, kick your shoes off, grab a cold drink, enjoy some retro games, just have fun, relax. We're known for over-the-top shout-outs and introductions.
Oh, I know. I've been in those over the top introductions.
So when you come to our streams, like you're gonna get that over the topness. Someone had said I'm like a car salesman, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna just be over the top. That's what we love to do here. We love to make everyone feel welcome. So we're gonna see a lot of co-streams come up in the future here. We do our trivia nights on Tuesday nights where we do 80s to 2010 style trivia in various categories for prizes. We're also going to be doing a lot more, like I said, co-streams.
Great.
And you're going to definitely see some more. Actually, what's really interesting is this Thursday is going to be my very first playthrough. It's going to be a co-stream of the game Cuphead.
Oh, awesome.
A friend of mine, dear friend of mine, actually gifted me the game, and she's been wanting the co-stream. So this Thursday, you're going to watch me suffer through my very first playthrough of Cuphead. And it's going to be insane. I'm going to have a death counter for that one for sure.
I love it. Well, yeah, please check out all of Sonic's stuff. We did link his Twitch and chat. Obviously, you'll see on my socials, we'll have his stuff. And if you're in my Discord, his stuff is available as well. Want to thank Bry, said first time seeing the podcast. It was fantastic. That's really nice, Bry. Thank you so much for stopping by. First time chatter popped in with an awesome name, Retro Humpty Dumpty Doo.
I love that name.
Thank you so much for stopping in. It is towards the end. We are closing out here. I did want to air some dirty laundry before we go, Sonic. We have kicked off the retro gaming community on Twitter.
Let's go.
We have crossed over 1,300 members in only a course of 3 months that we've been existing. And guess what? We just kicked off our 4th giveaway. And the only way to enter this giveaway is literally to be part of the community. And all you have to do is comment, which basically is the tweet here, is how to enter. Is if, first of all, enter our community. If you go to my Twitter account, there's a pinned tweet at the top. That's where you enter the retro community. But we're giving away with donated by Bitmap Books. It's called the NES Pixel Book. And all you have to do is tell us
dope.
What is your favorite controller of all time in the comments, and that's how you enter. And next Friday, we will be giving away a copy of this awesome book by And that's another thing.
Dope.
This is not a sponsorship. This is just donated giveaway by these awesome people at Bitmap Books. So we want to shout out them as well. Check them out at bitmapbooks.com. If you want to win this book, you want to be a part of a really cool community. It's the retro gaming community on Twitter. I have to shout it out because it's grown so much, and we have so many amazing people sharing things all day long, as you can see in the feed here. Just lots of people sharing their streams, sharing their collection. Sonic, it's been really rewarding to be a part of something and start something, and just want to shout them out. Shout out to the Twitter retro community. Love you guys and gals. Want to thank you, Sonic, for coming on today.
Thank you. Oh my God, thank you. This has been like a long time coming, and I was just like, I literally could not sleep last night. I was like so beyond excited to be part of this show. And again, in closing, guys, everyone in chat here, not only thank you for being here, but again, guys, yes, if you want to kick off your Saturday morning in the most epic way possible, have your breakfast cereal ready, grab your favorite cartoon, and grab your favorite salt drink, because you're going to kick it back to the day of yesteryear, where times were simpler and times were oh so epic, because this man brings everything from movie, music, pop culture, cartoons, video games, you name it. He gets the retro vibes alive, and he's an amazing podcaster, Mr. Love Retro BTW.
Oh man, thank you so much. How do I follow that? I guess I follow that with closing out the show. That's Sonic. Please check out all of his content. He did a great introduction to the show. I'm very flattered. I really appreciate it. You know, we're just here to have fun. Number one. And I do want to say, I always say this, or I try to say this at the end of every show. Remember, we only get one shot at this, right? So be nice to people. I'm Andy. That's Sonic. This was another awesome Cafe BTW. We're going to be closing the cafe today, but we're going to be back open next Saturday. So we'll see you all next week on Cafe BTW, a gaming morning podcast. Thanks to everyone that came to the live, and thank you all on VOD. We'll see you next time. Take care. Say goodbye, Sonic.
Take care, guys. Have an awesome supersonic day.
There you go. Peace.